Have you ever wondered why some women, without the looks of a supermodel or the perfect social media life, can deeply captivate men who seem unattainable to many? What makes them so irresistible? What is the secret to their success? The answer is not on the surface. It's not about makeup, tight clothes, or rehearsed seductive gestures. It's about something much more subtle, yet infinitely more magnetic. As Louise Hay said, a woman's true power lies in her emotional connection, in her ability to touch another person's soul before touching their body. Many women are convinced that to make a man fall in love with them, they need to be physically desirable and wait for signs of attention. But the truth is that for a man to fully commit, it doesn't necessarily start with physical attraction. If you learn to touch the deeper chords of his soul, he will surrender without even realizing it. Do you know where a man's real desire organ is located? It's not what you think. It's his mind. That's where genuine desire awakens, where his insecurities, ambitions, vivid memories, and subconscious aspirations live. You can penetrate this intimate and sometimes chaotic space by learning to speak his emotional language. Louise Hay constantly reminded us that to change what you attract, you need to change the energy you radiate. And this statement is also true in this context. Let me share a truth with you that not everyone will say out loud. A man can share physical intimacy with many, but he only gives emotional openness to the one who touches something more than just his body. That's why, even after a passionate encounter, he will remember not so much what you did together, but the feelings you awakened in him. This is where true influence lies. This is what makes him mentally return to you again and again, even when you are far away. And if you are tormented by the disappointment of giving too much and receiving so little, if you feel like you are doing everything right, but can't get a man to truly commit to a relationship, then you don't need to change your appearance or become more compliant. You need to learn to touch his mind before his body, to penetrate his inner world, where few dare to enter, but you can. There is a powerful reality that many ignore because it contradicts everything we have been taught since childhood. A man's body is not what binds him most strongly to you. It is not his most sensitive part, and it is not what captivates him the most. His true attraction, what drives him, what transforms him, is born in his mind. Yes, it is in this inner space, full of thoughts, expectations, hidden fears, unspoken desires and contradictions, that true magic happens. When you understand the laws of his mental universe, everything becomes crystal clear. You no longer need to compete with anyone or try too hard. You sow emotions, awaken curiosity, evoke desire from nothing. And believe me, this kind of connection leaves an indelible mark. There is a huge difference between simply being physically attractive to a man and becoming unforgettable to him. Anyone can catch his eye, but only the one who stimulates his imagination, touches his feelings, and awakens the need to feel admired and valued remains in his heart forever. Louise Hay said that everything we give returns to us many times over, and when you give presence, sincerity, and confident feminine energy, it returns to you in the form of true love. So, how do you touch a man's mind with foresight, not intrusiveness, with subtle hints, not direct instructions? The male mind, like the female mind, responds more to mystery than to obviousness. It's not about laying everything bare, but about leaving space for his imagination, for his growing desire, for his thoughts about you in moments of separation. Immerse yourself in a world of understatement, where pauses and glances speak louder than any words. Intrigue a man with silence full of meaning. Make him wonder what is hidden behind your phrases. The main thing is to awaken feelings in him, because men fall in love not with actions, but with the emotions you evoke. Be sincere, witty, gentle, or passionate, but if you don't touch his mind, if you don't awaken any emotions in him, you will remain just one of many. But if you can make him feel noticed, admired, intrigued, and inspired, you will forever live in his thoughts, even when there are many other people around. The mind is the starting point of true intimacy. That's where genuine desire is born. Unquenchable interest flares up. Fantasies are built that make him seek you, not the other way around. Take possession of his mind, and his body will follow you without hesitation. If you grasp the power of this truth, an even deeper understanding will dawn upon you. When a connection originates in the unseen, the visible becomes inevitable. While many women seek answers in appearances, you will begin to establish a connection from a far more intimate place, his inner world. Remember, if you only touch the surface, the answers will be the same, superficial, predictable, and eventually dull. But if you dare to enter his emotional universe with sensitivity, intelligence, and genuine presence, everything will change. There is something that draws men in, but that they cannot always explain. It is a woman who can touch the soul before touching the body. While many ladies strive for flawless looks, it is you who can ignite the flame of desire in him using the subtlest tools. A well-chosen word, a confident glance, a meaningful pause, a comment that gently but deeply penetrates his consciousness and lingers there. And believe me, this can be far more exciting than physical intimacy. After all, there is nothing a man cannot resist, like a woman who knows how to stimulate his mind, outpacing the touch of skin. And you can be that woman if you abandon the search for approval out of insecurity and begin to express your inner strength, as Louise Hay advised. When you transform your thoughts and feelings, the world around you will also change, and this will inevitably be reflected in your relationships. Now you know that the mind is the real source of desire, but knowledge alone is not enough. It is important to be able to use this knowledge to your advantage, and this is where many fail. Some believe that it is enough to say pleasant words or repeat compliments, like, "You look so good today." But this does not touch the deeper chords of the soul. The real magic begins when you know how to play with his imagination, create emotional tension, leave him with a phrase that does not leave his head. You can achieve this, dear reader, with 3 subtle but incredibly effective tools. Mastering them with grace, you will forever remain in his memory. The first way to touch his mind is to use words that evoke vivid images. We are not talking about empty phrases or tired cliches, but about sentences that, without being explicit, start a whole movie in his imagination. For example, instead of the banal, "I like you," say something like, "There is something about you that makes me think about things I shouldn't be thinking about." Do you feel the difference? You are not giving him anything concrete, but at the same time, you are talking about everything. He will complete the meaning himself, and this is the art. Do not serve everything ready-made. Let him imagine, create, desire. When a man begins to paint pictures in his imaginations with your participation, you cease to be just a familiar woman. You turn into the heroine of his personal, exciting story. Another effective way to capture his thoughts is the strategic use of silence. This technique, which seems simple, has colossal power. Often we have a compulsive need to fill any space with words, as if silence causes discomfort. However, skillfully used silence creates an aura of mystery, creates tension, and awakens desire. Imagine a situation. You are talking enthusiastically, then suddenly shorten the distance and say something provocative that puts him at a dead end. After that, You simply remain silent, looking intently into his eyes, saying nothing, giving no explanations, and not smoothing over the awkwardness. This moment becomes magnetic, because a feverish search for hidden meanings begins in his head. He wonders if you will continue to speak, move on to action, or simply enjoy the situation. This meaningful pause does not leave him indifferent. The emptiness that you deliberately do not fill becomes an obsession that is firmly lodged in his thoughts. Louise Hay wisely noted that sometimes our silence speaks louder than words. When you realize the power of silence, you will understand that there is no need to convince anyone of anything. It is enough to simply evoke a response. The third key to his mind is mastering the art of almost. What does this mean? Not every action started must be completed. There is a powerful attractive force in understatement and incompleteness. Remember the moment when he was already anticipating a kiss, but you only slightly approached, whispered something intriguing in his ear, and, smiling mysteriously, stepped away. In fact, nothing happened, but this almost leaves an indelible mark in the memory. Why does this work? He expected a logical conclusion, and you put an ellipsis, leaving the ending open and allowing his imagination to finish the picture. And these fantasies are sometimes more valuable than 100 real touches. Now he is in the grip not of experienced experience, but of insatiable desire. Even after you're gone, he won't be left with a sense of satisfaction, but rather a thirst for more. This is the subtle secret of feminine charm. Don't aim for immediate gratification of his interest. It's much more important to leave him with a feeling of emotional hunger, to become an obsessive thought that haunts him even in moments of distraction. 3 key tools: a suggestive word, a provocative silence, and an alluring almost, are not just tricks, but a true art of emotional influence, a conscious manifestation of feminine power. Only a few women use these techniques intentionally, as they require self-confidence, inner harmony, and masterful control of emotions. But if you're reading these words, it means you're ready to stop being one of many and remain in his memory forever. It's not about chasing the perfect figure or memorizing romantic phrases, but about knowing how to penetrate his imagination uninvited, touching those emotions that he cannot control or explain. Reaching this level, you step out of the competition, finding yourself in a league where your inner energy speaks louder than any words. As Louise Hay said, by cultivating self-love, we naturally radiate it, becoming attractive, irresistible, and desirable. And most importantly, the source of this power is within you. There's no need to pretend, just remember your worth. A woman who seeks not just to be seen, but to be felt, radiates authenticity, and this is her true strength. By learning to communicate with a man on an emotional level, you'll discover something that will forever change your communication. You no longer need tricks to be liked, no need to wear masks. It's enough to be in harmony with yourself. After all, as they say, men may desire many, but they only remember the one who touched their soul. This isn't about the art of manipulation, but about raising your inner energy, the ability to read between the lines, cultivating a magnetic presence that cannot be ignored. As Louise Hay taught, deep self-love raises your vibration frequency, and with it, the quality of love you attract. Think about this. Every conversation is an opportunity. Every glance is a bridge. Every silence is a message. In conversation with him, try to hear not only the words, but also what remains as spoken. What emotions is he holding back? What fear hides behind the mask of confidence? Men, contrary to popular belief, also need understanding, admiration, and recognition of their value as individuals, not just for their achievements. And when you are able to see his inner world, not to change it, but to accept it, he feels something he rarely finds: peace. And for an emotionally mature man, there is nothing more attractive than a woman who gives him a sense of peace without losing her mystery. But there is something even more important. Strive to awaken in him not only desire, but also respect. After all, a man who respects you will not play with your feelings, question your worth, or settle for less. He will want you to feel safe, significant, and a priority. But for this, you yourself must clearly understand who you are and how you want to be treated. It all starts with you, with your energy, with your boundaries, with your ability to say yes and no out of love for yourself. Do you understand how everything is interconnected? Don't be afraid to leave your mark. Often we think that we need to be casual, not delve into relationships, not show excessive interest, so as not to scare away. But true magnetism lies not in concealment, but in expressing yourself with elegance and confidence. You are not here to beg for crumbs of attention, but to create an unforgettable experience. To become the woman who is remembered because you touched the most vulnerable and innermost part of his soul. So, the next time you spend time with him, ask yourself, am I seeking approval or expressing my true essence? Am I trying to provoke a reaction or leaving a real emotional mark? Am I acting out of fear or out of my inner strength? The answers to these fateful questions separate fleeting memories from a vivid and unforgettable presence in another person's life. It's important to remember that the attraction we have on others is directly related to our own self-esteem and belief in our worth. Working on strengthening self-respect is not just a minor detail, but the cornerstone of our personality. As Louise Hay wisely noted, self-love is a priceless gift that begins the path to positive change. Therefore, exalt yourself, show respect for yourself, and surround yourself with love. The more you do this, the more you attract those who are able to see your inner light, not just the external reflection. The moment you decide to stop searching externally for what can only be built internally, your inner energy undergoes a transformation. And the most amazing thing is that you do not need to announce this transformation. It is felt by those around you on a subconscious level. Men sense this change, although they cannot always explain its nature. It is something that comes from within, your new aura, a tranquility that beckons, and a presence that unnerves those who are accustomed to the former version of you, the one that no longer exists. When a woman becomes not only a listener, but also an observer, she begins to notice subtle nuances in communication that previously escaped her attention. She sees how a man reacts to certain topics, how his body language changes when something emotional is mentioned, how he opens up when he feels safe around her. It is in these minute details that the opportunity lies to ignite a genuine desire, one not based on manipulation. There is no need to play any games. It is enough to establish an authentic connection with his human side. True desire is not born from control or empty intellectual games, but from a deep emotional bond. When a man feels that he can be himself around you, without masks or pressure, something changes in his inner world. He relaxes, lets his guard down, and sees the real you, feels you. Such a connection is a rarity, and it is impossible to forget. What else can spark that light in his eyes? A woman who is self-assured, who embraces her individuality rather than striving for imposed ideals. One who boldly expresses her thoughts and feelings without apologizing for her authenticity, who knows how to set personal boundaries with dignity, knowing when to take a decisive step forward and when to wait wisely. She does not need to resort to artificial ploys of seduction. She attracts with her naturalness. Let us recall the words of the great Louise Hay. Our beliefs about ourselves shape our reality. And if a woman sees herself as strong, independent, desirable, and worthy of love, that is exactly what she radiates into the world. There is no more captivating fragrance than healthy self-esteem. The paradox is that the true art of seduction that begins not with external attributes, but with an internal dialogue, with how a woman relates to herself, how she looks at her reflection in the mirror. When she looks at herself with admiration, acknowledging her worth, she does not settle for less, does not agree to half measures or emotionally unavailable partners. From this new energy springs the ability to choose what is best for herself, and this fundamentally changes the nature of her relationships. When she is around a man, instead of trying to earn his approval, she observes him with genuine curiosity, listening to her own feelings, trying to understand his essence. She does not rush to fill awkward silences, does not react impulsively. She breathes, speaks only when she really wants to express something important, and not out of a desire to please. And if at some point he decides to leave, she does not see it as a personal defeat, but sees it as a sign of fate. After all, a woman who knows how to touch a man's mind will not beg him to stay in her life. She knows that she does not need to prove her worth to anyone. A man who is ready for a deep connections will feel it from the start. Therefore, release the anxiety about whether you are good enough. Get rid of the obsessive idea of making him react in a certain way. Stop trying to control everything around you. Your worth does not depend on his reaction. It is determined by your ability to remain true to yourself without losing your individuality for anyone. And if there is something that I want to convey to you, it is the realization of your immense power. Not the power to subdue a man, but the power to guide relationships from the depths of your emotional truth, from your inner center. And this, believe me, is impossible to copy. Continue to cultivate that version of yourself that expresses her thoughts and feelings openly, is not afraid of her intensity, leaves a mark on people's hearts without the slightest effort, and, most importantly, understands that seduction is not a set of external tricks, but a way of life. When you become that woman who knows how to touch a man's mind, you no longer need to shout to be heard or run to be followed. It is enough to simply be there, to simply be yourself. And it is this energy that can transform superficial connections into unforgettable experiences. If you have reached these lines, I want to express my gratitude to you for taking the time for yourself, for allowing yourself to listen, to reflect, and to open your mind and your heart to a new way of interacting with the world. If at least something of what has been said resonated in your soul, if you felt that you were seen, understood, or simply made to think, then all of this was not in vain. Always remember, your worth isn't measured by the number of followers you have, but by the degree of self-respect you possess. When you begin to engage with the world from your inner strength, from your authenticity, from that self-love that Louise Hay so eloquently spoke about, you not only transform yourself, but you also change the world around you. Thank you for watching this video until the end. If you enjoyed this content, if you felt it was helpful to you, please give it a like. This will help me continue to create from the heart. If you are not yet part of our community, now is the perfect time to join. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications by clicking on the bell icon to always stay up to date with the latest updates and not miss a single new video. What we are preparing for you in the future promises to be even more exciting and meaningful, touching the deepest chords of your soul. I am sending you the warmest hugs, filled with light and positivity, and I hope to see you soon in new videos. Remember, this is just the beginning of our exciting